10. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. Yes, Croncy is fired because he is too Australian. We need more American here. I've had Virgil on, Croncy. There's just too much Australian, so we had to get rid of them. No, Croncy actually has an eye infection. He just let me know maybe like an hour ago that he wasn't going to be able to make it. So I changed all the scenes over to have it just two people. And yeah, so we're going to, the whole plan is we do this. We want to do this more often because hopefully there's more changes to mining and salvage and industrial gameplay that both myself, Red, and Croncy enjoy. But today it's just going to be me and Redmonster. So Red, welcome. Thank you for coming on short notice.
Yeah.
We planned to do this last week, and I totally forgot to message you, so that's my fault.
Yeah.
But the first thing I want to do is, in case people don't know who you are and what you do, give us the spiel, I guess.
Okay. Well, I'm Redmonster SC. I'm an industrial focused player, and I run an org called the Red Legion. We do a lot of mining, a lot of salvage. I've for the last couple of years, I've been putting out mining cheat sheets and other tools and resources to help not just individual mining to figure out where to find materials, but also tools to help group mining. So when you're out with a crew, how do you get those crew splits, recording your orders and stuff. So providing those tools out to the community. I live stream every Sunday morning. We do a Sunday morning mining session here on Twitch, as well as my YouTube channel. Both of those are at Redmonster SC. And then, yeah, you can find me on socials under at Redmonster SC. That's Twitter, Blue Sky. I'm a big time Redditor, so you'll probably see me in and out there too. So
nice. Yeah, and I always have an under exclamation mining on my Twitch channel. I got all your socials there and everything to check out the guides plus your YouTube channel and Twitch. So I posted that in the YouTube chat as well. To me, those mining guides are life. They are everything, because it is really challenging and has been really challenging to find good information because there's none in the game. And I guess the first thing that we want to go on is, well, CIG made a pretty big change recently on how we get this information, right? So what happened?
yeah, so the elephant in the room, right? Basically, up till this point, all of the mining data, basically the recipes and the instructions for how to spawn rocks, those all have been in client-side data. So every time we got a new patch, we could go extract the game files. I put that through my own reporting and kind of summarized and did some other math on the back end to get an overall view of like what percentage of material is going to be out at each location. But with 4.0, they've actually moved that all to the server side. So there's no longer any client data that I can go and pull direct access from. So obviously that's going to be a little difficult to work around.
Yeah.
So the only method we have is, I guess, well, two methods. One is to go out and just do some direct observation survey, and when you get a large enough sample size, then kind of make an educated guess as far as what you're going to find at each location. Now, understanding how the rocks are spawned and generated, there's locations, and each location has maybe 5 or 6 unique deposit types. But each deposit type can have any number of those minerals inside it.
Yeah.
So you can take an educated guess as long as you can get some of that data, but it's time consuming to do that. The other option is to just go beg CIG to be able to start making some of this information, some of this data available
in game.
In game, or even potentially some way to have that just connected outside the game, but available to the community. So
yeah, like I don't think we need necessarily these exact percentages or anything like we're seeing on the screen, right? But pushing us in the right direction is would be a nice thing. I think they've done a little bit for us on that front when they told us, all right, the closer you are to the star, the denser things are, and the further you are away, the lighter things are. And for the veteran miners out there, why does that matter? And why would we never, ever go near the center of the star? Because at least that's how
Yeah.
I look at it for now.
And kind of to backtrack a little bit, to have them say in one, all credit to you, you've got great access to devs, you get a lot of good information, but that's not necessarily something that's publicly available.
Yep.
Right? It's your channel and your content. People who are familiar with you and follow this know that because it's been relayed there. But it's not something that's officially gotten out to the rest of the community. And it's
the warm and cold information did, and it was like I specifically was like, I said, hey, we need to, like, because I was like, I am so confused, specifically on the one that we have here. Is when I was in Pyro doing my own testing and trying to figure this out, I was finding every single tier 3 material. And for people who don't understand, for what mining is right now, the most important material isn't the valuable one you're looking for. It's the least valuable one that's in the rock that you're looking for, because it makes the more valuable one more valuable. It makes no sense. It's goofy. They're going away from it, which I think is a great thing. But and we'll discuss that, what you think too, Red. I know your opinion 100% on that. But I experienced deep space asteroids. And I was like, I am so confused here. Why am I finding every single tier 3 material? That's not how it's ever worked before. So now I just messaged and I was like, feel free, because Torsten does not tell me anything, because I've told him not to tell me anything in any detail, because I don't want to be spoiled, because he works on the stuff I enjoy. And I said, can you just tell me, did you guys make like a change? What's going on here? And he goes, we'll say something, basically. And he was like, well, if you're in the center, it's denser, and if you're further away, it's lighter. And I'm like, well, that's not what I'm experiencing. And I was like, well, at the very least, I shouldn't be the only one who knows this information. We should tell everybody. So then he told community, and community made a post, right? And that's why we got that information, I think. I hope. Well, I don't hope. I hope we got it without me. But yeah, that's how we ended up getting that information. And that little information was enough to know at least where to mine. But yeah, I unfortunately kept going to deep space asteroids, and I was like, these are the worst possible places you can mine. So, because you just never can guarantee what you're getting. But
and that's
go ahead.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why players will struggle. Right. This I've got along the bottom row here the density of each rock. So the amount of SCU you have times your density, that's a weighted multiplier. So you get those really dense rocks, and you're gonna have a lot harder time being able to actually effectively mine those, because you need more laser power, right? And you're gonna find a 10,000 mass rock that just has like 4 SCU in it. It's gonna be really imbalanced. So there's that. Now, one thing about the charts I do have available for Pyro is these are actually the post-CitizenCon tech preview from 2023. So we got a tech preview build. I was able to get the data there, but I saw new minerals.
It's missing rhyosite, right, and those kind of things.
Yeah, Styleron, Rixite, ice, and tin. Right, those are the new materials that are introduced. Now, they were listed as harvestables at that point, but they weren't implemented in the game, so it wasn't assigned to any location that they could spawn in on, and so it's incomplete data. But I think as far as your tier 3 materials, the core stuff, it's the best shot we have right now. It's incomplete, but it is at least from some game source data, instead of just going out there with a clipboard, because that's really what that's what our methods have to be. But besides obviously the begging CIG. So for this, my opinion is mining is one of the oldest gameplay loops, besides just like general combat, right? They brought in the industrial with mining, and we don't have a lot of the gameplay support in game. So Salvage, we've got missions, you've got Salvage contracts. You generally have an idea of what you're going out to get, and then also you can find Salvage panels. You can follow around a bounty hunting crew and generate yourself as much salvage as you want. So
No
That's a
refining process on top of it, so it's
yeah,
more
it's
instant.
simple, direct,
Yep.
and yeah, you're able to go in, turn a profit that day. Now, mining, being the older gameplay loop, there are ways that you can go through. You talk about hand mining. I saw you were doing caves earlier.
Yep.
That's a good start, really low cost. Anybody can do it, and you don't have to have a fancy ship for it. Rock mining, there's great locations out there. We talk about Aberdeen as like a Hadanite hotspot. You can
Ignis
do,
now.
Daymar. Yeah, Ignis, Terminus. Also, they've got a bunch of Hadanite, but are all a single rock instead of a multiple rock cluster. So it's kind of interesting the way they've chosen to do that distribution, because you'll
It
find
almost seems like a bug.
yeah, well, you'll find gems everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And this is Ignis, Pyro 4, Terminus, and I think Fuego is also that same. So anywhere you get Hadanite, it'll be a single rock. But you'll find them, 2 or 3 kilometers apart, rather than, on like Aberdeen, where you could find an 8 to 10 rock cluster, but it'll be 20, 30 kilometers before you find your next one.
Yeah, and Ignis, I'm finding, I think the most we found was 14 clusters. Like, so Ignis
Yeah.
has been like the normal feel, and they're all close to each other. But
Yeah.
I don't know about the other ones as much because I haven't done Fuego or Terminus yet. But as
Yeah.
far as all the ones that are listed high here, Ignis was like the spot for sure.
Yeah. Terminus is definitely singles. That was
Yep.
I was out there because it's got the station right above it, and felt like it was a good logistical loop. But I think also the struggle is you break one rock and you got to drive a couple kilometers. So, or you could just, I was rock mining out of a Polaris during the PTU phases. So
Nice.
park it, go drive around and hit all the rocks in about a 10-kilometer cluster, and get back into the ship and take off somewhere else.
So
but
go ahead.
rock mining and cave mining, you can be successful with those, right?
Yeah.
Every rock you find, you can go break. And when you get into prospector and mole mining, the larger ore deposits, that's where you find the mass distribution that's different and could really affect your success, because your tier 3 materials, whatever else is in there, you could find a rock that is just really high resistance, and you're not able to break, even though all of the numbers say you should be able to. And so
yeah, and I want to bring that part up, is like that's where we are right now, right? The current state of mining is, well, hand and vehicle mining feel pretty good, but are maybe oversimplistic. And then ship mining is maybe too complicated or less. How would you describe it?
Yeah, I would say it almost feels a little incomplete. It's you aren't guaranteed success there.
It's
right?
not just missing crafting, where a lot of things crafting would make them, but mining isn't just missing that.
Yeah, so I feel like there's a little bit of a frustration aspect to it, because you can go out, find decent rocks that are too big to break. You can find smaller rocks that probably aren't that valuable.
You're scanning more than you're mining still.
Yeah, you're scanning more than you're mining, and it's really dependent on scanning working. And there's, some big bugs right now in 4.0. But yeah, you get out, and I feel like it's a little frustrating for solo players to go try and find rocks they can break on their own and have to pass up. If scanning doesn't work, then you've got to be in the right size range. And if it's not, if it's in the right size range, does it have the right materials? I feel like there's too many filters in that process to be successful for it to be like a really rewarding experience in the way that it's currently working. And part of that is finding the right locations. I know with the redistribution in like 3.19, you messaged me and said, like, Red, where do we go to mine? Like, I'm having the darndest time. And I said, yeah, go to Selen and Yella, because you're going to have, first off, their lower overall mass with the low density materials. And yeah, a lot of solo players found that advice, and they did a fantastic job there.
Yeah, it made mining fun instantly. And that's unfortunately like what we talked about when we first started. That information's not in the game. And even like not even paying attention to the highest grade materials because it's just kind of random where they go. Uh,
Yeah.
that's sort of where I want to take the conversation next. Is we were talking about how rock mining is and how, I mean, first off, I mean, I still have the screen up here. Is there's only 3 materials, right? So that makes it a lot
Yeah.
simpler. There's only 3 things to look for. One of them is better than the rest of all the rest. But
Yeah.
uh, what I think is the best part about it is scan, find them, land, break, scoop. There's
Yeah.
I think the refinery process is fine. I actually like that. But the the idea of insta breaking and everything coming in and you're not changing the module on my laser, or I don't have to think too much, is part of what I find to be good. Now, I wouldn't take it
Yeah.
in entirely in that direction. I think all the stuff they've done with modules, laser changes, all those things are nice. But what I love to hear from CitizenCon is the other part of this is Hadanite doesn't have Aphorite and Dolivine in it when you find a rock. It only
Right.
has Hadanite. And
It's a
that's the
monotype.
direction, exactly. That's the direction we're going, everybody. Is all of the sheets, I guess I'll bring up one of the other ones, is they're unfortunately, I don't know how this makes you feel, they're gonna be obsolete, right? And the
Yeah.
information we need is gonna be different.
Well,
So what do you think about that?
first off, I have no problem with my tools becoming obsolete
Yeah.
as long as we have something else available in game to help support that.
Yeah.
I've got another one of my charts that shows the rock deposit types
On it.
and the mineral percentages by deposit type. That
Bring
that
that one
really
up.
breaks down the variety and where we can see there it's all there's a low percentage for your high tier materials and basically everything. Quantanium has like a 2%, overall volume, but it can literally pop into any rock cluster now. So those are things that are interesting. But yeah, back to the original. Yeah, here your probabilities and then your min and max percentage, right?
Yep.
You can get those tier 2, tier 1 in any rock, and so you're out there scanning for everything. Now, we saw some previews with the base building. We saw other stuff that they're going to a monotype, and we're going to get a lot more variety of minerals available, but each mineral deposit is going to be on its own. I think the factor that we're going to see vary there, I hope that it's going to
Inert,
be the
right?
quality.
Yeah,
I,
inert as
I
well.
don't think
You don't think so?
I'm not sure if it's going to have inert. I think that's going to play into the quality of the material.
Okay.
So maybe a higher percentage of inert translates into a lower
Lower
quality.
quality.
Now that opens up the opportunity for good breaks still, and differentiation by location. So certain moons and asteroid fields, they might have a higher quality range you can find that material in.
Yeah.
That's not from direct knowledge of anything. That's just my hope.
Yeah, we're in
Because
the guessing period of the show now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that they've already talked about it being a monotype distribution. So you're only going to find one deposit type. You're going to find a tin, cluster, or a tin resource site that you can then go extract, and you will get tin, 100% all the way through. Now, the quality of that tin is what's going to vary, and I think it does make sense to try and have that cluster factor in there where your weighted average, right, will be, kind of the overall rock quality, but you'll find good chunks and bag chunks that are higher quality versus lower quality.
Yep.
So,
And then, as some people may not know, so just kind of just in case you guys aren't aware, I'll bring this up as well, is the reason quality matters is because of things like the crafting. Is there'll always be a range in which, I don't think I'm bringing up the right sheets right now. I'm just scrolling through Citizen Console. It's going to be quite difficult. Is there, for integrity or fire rate on this gun, is there'll be a range in which it could go from, like, let's say 1025 to 1034, and then the thing that affects the fire rate is copper. in this example. So the higher quality, this says accumulated quality of 345, because obviously that'll be an average of all of the copper that you're putting into these. So you have 2 SCU of it. Well, one of them might be, a little higher. One of them might be a little lower. Averages out to 345, and that'll make your fire rate plus 3.45%. There you go.
And this is the exact reason why you're going to want to care about mining and resource extraction. And not everybody needs to be a combat pilot, and
Exactly.
I think there's a there's a big difference in the gameplay styles there that drive people one way versus another right now. But I think it's going to make people want to go out there and learn it, or once we have the option for player sales to other players, find some group that's known for their resource extraction.
Yep. And and maybe there'll be something in between where there's somebody who just crafts and I'm buying from you, let's say, or something like that, and then somebody's buying from me, because people want, in video games, at least, especially MMOs that are kind of vast in what you could do, is you want to just do what you want to do, and you don't want to have to do other things. Whenever games force you to do other things, it's really annoying. I see somebody at Twitch chat mentioning it. Your Discord alerts are coming through your mic. I don't know what's happening.
Is it mine?
Yeah, I don't have Discord alerts.
Oh,
do you hear them?
Yeah.
It's cool though. I'll just go through my spiel while you're figuring it out. You're good. The idea of, I just want to go out and I might want to mine, or I might want to PvP. I mean, I think the best example is PvPers. PvPers probably don't want to spend the many hours that it's going to take to have to do all this and get the best possible pistol or ship weapon or anything like that. And they're just going to want to go buy it quickly and get out there and play. And other people like myself and Red do like doing this stuff, and we want somebody to buy it from us, right? So it's like it just works perfectly, and that's the idea here is it's just do you like the direction everything's going in with the mono rocks, or is there something, what of the things that we heard at CitizenCon that you liked and what didn't you like?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to miss having a multiple deposit or multiple mineral types in a deposit, because you have the chance for good breaks. Now, if they can make that still happen with the new quality system, that'd be cool. That's a wash for me. I like the fact that it's going to a monotype, because we can now focus on specific locations, and they talk about being like 400 plus different locations there, or different minerals that'll be distributed. You're going to have a pretty focused set of planets and moons and locations that mineral is going to be available at. So as long as we know where that's going to come in at, right? If they give us the access and say, okay, well, you're going to be looking for Rixite, it can spawn on these locations, go get it, right?
Yeah.
If we don't have a way to know that, we just have to stumble upon it randomly. I think that's where exploration and surveying is going to be important. But that's the type of data that in 2970, right, we really expect to have a basic understanding of what is at each moon and location, right?
Yeah.
So
and I think like for taking it back to where we are today, I was so disappointed in the distribution of minerals once we got the pyro. I am happy that there are specific ones that are just in pyro, but it's not just the distribution of the minerals, it's the distribution of who buys them. And that's what literally, not just mining, salvage, everything. There is places that are worth it to sell no matter where you are. There's never a reason to travel at all. But what I think we're going to get when we end up in this monoculture of mining is we're going to end up in situations where you're only going to find these. I guess this comes along with I guess where I'm going is right now, no matter where you mine, there's the distribution of everything. All the best material is possible no matter where you mine. But in the future,
Yeah.
there might be something just at Daymar, and the best place to sell that might be in Pyro.
Yeah, and
Hopefully.
that's where I think a good exploration program would be helpful, and
Yep.
then also understanding, the UAX Corp with their pricing
Yep.
tools, understanding where to buy and sell. These are all player-driven tools. I would love to see some of those incorporated into the game, but asking CIG to develop tools for those types of gameplay, it's a long shot and something that I think interferes with other priorities potentially, right?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, for sure. And I'm like, I just want to get the other thing from CitizenCon that was like pretty exciting was the idea of biomes and just going, oh,
yeah,
I can look at a location on Microtech and go, I'm more likely to find this mineral that I'm looking here by just looking at the place if you have the game knowledge enough to know those things.
yeah, and that's also one of the aspects that I think is going to be really interesting on how they implement it,
Yep.
because they no longer have to. I mean, yeah, there have been some hints at biomes in the game files, but no specific distribution changes. But
Yep.
if there's one rock type that you always have to be on the side of a hill face, right? And you're playing the Plinko game with those fragments as they're tumbling down the hill. I think everybody's had that experience where, if you're rock mining and you find something up on the side of a hill, dude, you're gonna be chasing gemstones down the side of that mountain
Yep.
face for an hour just to clean it up, right?
for,
And
for sure.
these are things you learn when you try and go out, and that's one of the struggles you might have rock mining versus some of the other game modes.
Yeah,
I would
for
say
sure.
like I'm really excited about the crafting aspect and the base building, and they've talked about being able to have your own refining, your own refinery and your own methods that you kind of tailor to get some outputs. I would love to be able to beat the main station refineries in yield and potentially balance it out on cost, right? But
Yeah.
that would take a lot of research. I don't think it's something that you should be able to get to day one, but
No.
a well-organized group that has the experience to do that should be able to be rewarded by that, right? I'd love for the Red Legion refinery stations to be the go-to when it comes to the high tier materials.
Yeah.
And I'd take a trade off on the low tier stuff, right? Obviously, it's focusing where that value is going to be.
Do you know
So,
what I'd love to go even deeper is, and I think what will happen is probably not this, but I would love if it went in this direction. I'm curious what you would think. Is we're kind of looking at this gameplay that they showed at CitizenCon that we're talking about right now. Well, this is extracting, but the refineries are nearby. I think
yeah,
the idea of maybe there's modules that I can place into my refineries that are I'm gonna go with Eve like. There's rigs in Eve. I don't know if you played Eve or not, Red. Are you familiar with
no,
rigs? Okay, so there's a certain type of component that you put in ships or stations and things, and they're called rigs. If you take them off, they're destroyed. So
okay,
you have to make a choice with those. Okay, so
yeah,
the idea of using rigs in your refinery and saying I want to specialize in specific ore types or specific refining processes that are maybe better for some types of ore and not others. Would you like that? Because I think then
oh,
like somebody like yourself or somebody like me that wants to be really focused would be the best at everything. And wouldn't it be cool to have like more doors open to more people or more locations that are better for other things? It's just something that came in
yeah,
my mind when you were like, "Oh, I want to be the best," and I was like, "Oh, I want to be the best." How's that going to
yeah.
work? What if we're both
Well,
the best?
we can both have our own specializations, I'm sure,
Yeah.
and in my mind, some of the module type plugins that we have right now, it kind of makes sense there.
Hmm.
I do see it being something where you've got like a catalyst material and some type of inventory there where it's maybe it's a gas additive, it's some other resource that goes in and modulates that process to say, okay, well, as long as you have this material available, you get an extra 5%, right?
Yeah.
That you could do that, right? I think that would be, and part of what they've talked about with the crafting system uses those catalysts.
Yep.
Um,
They
that
mentioned
yeah,
refining
as long as
blueprints as well. So like
yeah,
upgrading them in certain directions are possibly going to be a thing. So
yeah,
I
and
mean,
the
they're
I
very
keep
vague.
coming. I keep thinking of the way that like Space Engineers does their fabricators. You've got module upgrade slots on it that can be constructed
Okay,
and equipped. I don't, those I think you just deconstruct if you need to change it out, but they'll increase speed or they'll lower power output and stuff. It's been a while since I've done the specifics on it, but
gotcha.
um, you know, I think there should be that level of customizability. If we're, if they're going to put these tools into players' hands, there needs to be a really good justification, and I think that ends up being that we need to be able to beat the refineries at
Oh yeah,
either time, cost, or yield. Right? If somebody's out there and they don't care what the yield looks like, they can drop it into a real cheap refinery and get it out in a couple hours.
for
And
sure.
you know, I think that's the route that I would like it to go, and it seems like there's some support for that. But I don't think they can make it be an engaging gameplay loop unless that's an option.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's very similar to what I was mentioning before, where like no matter where I am, there's a place that I could sell what I'm mining and or refining and
Yeah,
stuff, and it just there's no there's no like definite choices that you make, and it's that just bothers me that it's so just everything's just so evenly spread out, especially just from a like look at Stanton and look at Pyro. You have this industrial like empire star system, and
yeah,
they aren't more interested in, you know, they're
right.
they're equally as interested excuse me, in minerals and raw materials as a place like Pyro. This doesn't make any sense,
Yeah,
right? So
places with experience in those materials should absolutely have an advantage at refining those. And
yeah,
it's kind of been interesting. I don't know if there's been a lot of um, that correlation to bring them in intelligently, right? And
yeah,
back with the redistribution like 318, 319, I was talking about this archetype mode, and I really hope they go this route
okay,
for the monotype materials. But you have your primary parameters that are resistance, instability, and density, right? And you can find those like it's the good, faster, cheap triangle essentially. You can do one or two, right? If it's all three, that's going to have to be high reward.
yep,
But that should be location based, right? That you have more dense materials towards the center, maybe more volatile materials, unstable towards the outer reaches of the system, and the facilities that are in those locations
should
should
specialize.
sell, yeah, should sell modules that offset high resistance if you're in a high resistance area. Because I mean, I'm not going to set up a popsicle stand at the North Pole, right? I'm going to go for hot cocoa, and likewise, hot cocoa on Miami Beach isn't going to do me much good.
Yeah,
Um, that's just smart business, and it seems like right now someone's gone through and they've done the spaghetti method. They just throw out whatever sticks on the wall, and as long as it's not too bad, they give it the rubber stamp and move on.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's that's been the game the entire time, right? And it's been really frustrating. I mean, we could talk about salvaging, and I think the thing that I got the most excited for was an SCL not too long ago with Torsten, who's I think both of our favorite men, right? And he mentioned like I recently started playing Eve, and I won't mention it too much because I know people are probably sick of it. But I did not go the route of mining in Eve. It's way less interesting than mining in Star Citizen. It just didn't grasp me. But salvaging did for whatever reason, and it sounds like they're going down a similar route to that, which is instead of what we've been doing, which is just RMC and construction materials. Construction materials sound like they're going to turn into something similar to mining, but maybe like a little bit more RNG as you're pulling stuff in. Random shit ends
Yeah.
up in your hold, and you can hopefully use it in the crafting process. That would be
So
my dream.
it's been a while since I played it, but I hope this is one you got some experience with. Have you done hard space shipbreakers?
Yeah, been a while. I
Yeah.
I I got it on my Steam Deck, and that's like the game that I
Yeah.
would play.
I was really impressed with its ability to break down different tiers of kind of components. You had more of the mechanics of breaking the ship apart. I don't think I expect SC to go that direction with it, but I know like being able to pull specific pieces off and getting some bonuses. If we have missions that say, hey, like this ship out here, like the rest of it's garbage, but there is one power plant in there we are really interested in. Like it had some weird signals or whatever, and we think there was there was something unique about it. We want to go reverse engineer.
Yeah.
I think those types of things would be really really interesting.
Yeah, and the thing is yes, like I brought up some hard space shipbreaker video here because it is I would say the level of complexity, probably over the level of complexity that we have with mining. But obviously,
Yeah,
this is a game that just focuses on doing this exclusively, right? So it's able to do it as well as it possibly can, where Star Citizen
yeah,
can't. What what I th- what I found myself to be so surprised by was that salvaging an Eve is incredibly simplistic. It is you go up to a wreck, you press a button, and it's semi RNG what you get. Like depending on
yeah,
the the faction that they are or whatever you might get. Basically, they're just like your charts. There's charts for what possibly will show up in your hold, and
yeah,
the rarity of it, and then you just use those to craft. It's the most simplistic crafting there is, and I just found myself drawn to the simplicity of it, and I found myself
yeah,
more recently drawn to this to the simplicity of rock mining, simplicity of salvage as well in
yeah.
Star Citizen, and
And
it's
I
not because mining is bad. I love mining more than anything. It's just a lot of the problems that we discussed earlier are just it just ruins it.
Yeah, being able to scan for composition, being able to find a rock that's in the right size range,
Yep.
these frustration factors with the ore mining. When I was and like instability too, at least in 324, kind of a little bit in 4.0, but the rock
Server
charge
instability,
levels,
right?
yeah, server
Yeah.
instability was a huge factor. But going in and switching over to rock mining, like I'd put rock mining aside for months, right?
Yep.
And when 324 I was just getting frustrated with, server issues, with scanning issues, and I got back into rock mining. I was like, hey, like things are actually working. I can actually find a deposit that I can break, and like I know I don't have to go figure out what's in there to decide if it's good. It's all gonna be good, right? And it kind of helped remind me of like the aspects of mining that I did enjoy. And I feel like rock mining is very enjoyable. Ore and prospector and mole mining, they're good, but I would say there's enough frustration factors that it's going to turn players off.
Yeah.
So,
My favorite part, we both like to play in groups. My
mhm.
favorite part of ore mining or ROC mining, let me see if I can find it because I brought Regolith up as well. Yeah, there it is. So the website that we haven't talked much about, and I'd love to before we end, it's about 15 minutes, so just giving you 15-minute warning.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so you let me know. But the the website is regolith.rocks, and we were using this to ROC mine yesterday. And the best thing about ROC minables and minables in general is you can type exclamation point rocks in the Twitch chat too. But yeah,
oh
thank you for
yeah,
putting the link in there. The best thing about it is they aren't owned by anybody. The worst thing about salvage is once you create the box in your ship, only the person that owns that ship, not even the person who created it, owns that box. So then it becomes all sorts of problems about who gets to sell it, who gets the money, how's
hmm
all that stuff. With this, and I'm pointing up to explain it to everybody in the stream at the time, is if you were marking yourself as purple, this is basically everybody on the left side of that little box are people that I was mining with. Anybody who is purple is currently on the surface ROC mining. Anybody who's blue is scanning for a rock, and anybody who's yellow is full. And I'm in a hull A with some boxes attached to it, and I'm going and I'm picking up the gems. I'm buying them from them for the value of if I sold them at Grimhex, so 380 credits per gem. and then I'm bringing them to the mining outposts in Stanton and selling them for 437 per gem. So it was like the perfect loop. And it was exactly how I would love to see just industrial gameplay work, period, in the game. It was perfect. There was nothing getting in the way except for the usual, like, oh, the server like that kind of thing. Nothing was blocking us from enjoying ourselves. That was it.
So it's great to see you using it this way, because I haven't done a group rock mining fleet, but this is haven't done one recently, but this is actually how I think it would make the most sense to do something like that. You want to keep your mining ships out. We do something similar with Salvage, and also still using Regolith.
Same.
That we'll have everybody in their vultures, and we'll have like one reclaimer out there. And the vultures will all do the hull scraping, and they'll offload into a caterpillar, and the caterpillar goes and sells. But they're, the cargo ship, they'll actually reserve bays for specific players and say, okay, all of your stuff's offloaded into this one. We'll count it, load it down, and then sell. So they don't have to pay up front. They could just say, okay, well, Red, you had 30 boxes here. We just sold them. Here's your payout, right? And they'll take a cut for the cargo, but I can still be out there and continue to just salvage, right? And not have to worry about it.
That's like, again, I think ever since we've been getting together and talking about this, that has been the theme around any industrial gameplay, or specifically resource gathering gameplay. The people who want to do it want to do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they want to do.
Yeah, not everybody likes breaking rocks. A lot of people, just they want to run cargo. They want to be the support and move boxes. And
that's me.
Yeah, like that is you've got to meet players where they're interested and where they're committed at, right? And that I think helps provide a good, well-rounded operation.
Yeah. So I love the caterpillar idea. That's pretty smart.
Yeah. And like you can do something similar with a C2, but just like stack them in different sections of the hold. But yeah, the caterpillar with the side boxes, the side doors. Now with a Carrick, maybe
could potentially, yeah. I do it a little differently. I pay them on the spot. Like once the transfer's made, it's been made, and that's the only difference. And people are like, "Oh, you're taking so much risk," and I'm like, "Yeah, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's not his anymore."
Part of the reason why now it's under your care, right? And if they were to, if there was a server error or something that wiped you out, I'm sure people would be reasonable about it, because they wouldn't have gotten paid for that either. But
I take it as it's very hard. You know how like anytime you get killed mining and you're like, oh man, this guy stream sniped me or something, whatever. Like we don't have to get into that kind of conversation, but people will always tell you to hire a higher protection, and it's never been. There's never been enough margin or reason financially to hire a protection a lot of the time, right? This makes it for the hauler, definitely makes it that, because then the risk is really bad. But the other part of it is there's never entirely been that good of a reason to do it the way we're doing it, unless you like. For me, I feel like the value is you get paid right away. So then that is like, I am providing a super valuable service to you, and then you would actually want to do it. Now it only works like within party and all. Like there's so many things that are preventing being able to do that with random players. But yeah,
I'll say the trade-off here is if you're out there doing it solo on your own, like hole scraping, if you're doing rock mining, you got to make the decision on when to go back and sell, right? And you're rolling the dice against server errors, against other players, all of that. You're taking that risk, and it's a higher risk. But if you've got a support crew that can come offload your materials, and they are the ones back and forth, it minimizes the risk. First off,
time,
but it also the amount of time you're out there actually being productive and extracting valuable materials. That gives you so much more time, because you're going to spend 50 to 70% of your time just in setup back and forth for like a 2 or 3 hour session, right? You got to go through the, whatever ground station you're at. You're going to have to load up the vehicle. You're going to go actually out to the location, give yourself a lot more space just to be safe. Or
Yep.
if you're going to roll the dice, you can mine right side of outposts. I've sat down on a couple of players that were just doing rock mining within 10 kilometers of Norgard on Aberdeen.
Yep.
And yeah, like these people thought I was pirating them, and I was just like, hey, like I quantum traveled like literally 10 kilometers up there, and I can already see you, so like you might want to move.
Yeah.
But
be careful. But yeah, just to be clear, Red's going to be streaming right after this, and it's about 10 minutes until he was saying when he was going to start his stream. So the people, if the guys are in the calling list, I don't know if we're going to get to you, so just be aware of that today.
We can push my start's a little flexible, and
Okay.
If we got some good questions. I mean, if the questions suck, I'll just hang up.
I don't know if they're good because they're callers, so they call in and then they just say stuff. We don't know what they're gonna say. But where I want to kind of push the conversation within this last 10 or so minutes is the future. We saw a lot of stuff at CitizenCon. It's kind of, we did our prediction show last week. What are your predictions for this year as far as I'm going to call it like I did below us here is industrial gameplay. So resource extraction, crafting. Do we even think we're going to get that? Base building.
Yeah.
What do you see this year being? Is this going to be a good year for us, or is this going to be another like kind of the last couple of years where not as good?
I really hope that it's going to be a good year for us because they've talked about some of the crafting. I don't think it's going to be the finely polished version that they showed at CitizenCon. I think we're going to get the early iterations of it, but at least the ability to craft weapons and such. I think small stuff is coming out.
Okay.
I would like it to. I'm really hopeful that base building will start to become an option. We'll get that crafting cart and some options for like just a basic hab, but something that would be a quick implementation, quick construction, but maybe temporary in nature. So when you don't have like real long-term persistence or have to do the claims.
What about refining? Do you think we'll potentially get that option?
Ooh, I mean, maybe if they've got a refinery ship that's on its way. But
that's that's the unfortunate part of things is unless a ship is involved.
Yeah, that one's back. I think that one's got a blocker that we're not going to have ground-based refining, so we're going to need to have ship-based refining. And I know the Starfarers out there. I think it's going to be a little bit longer. They'd really need to get a refining shipping game before they start kind of teasing that mechanic.
I made some claims. I think it was last week, but we got a sneak peek this week. Have you seen it? The sneak peek?
Ooh, I heard it was the Misfortune.
Oh yeah, for sure. So here it is, and it just confirms what the Misfortune is. It's 100% a salvage ship now. Like we all knew it was anyway, but now this confirms it. But it also confirms something else, and I was so like just talking about how nothing good will happen unless a ship does it. What I thought was happening here is Misfortune was going to have mining bags, but be a salvage ship. And because of that, they would need to make it so the mining bags like worked, so you could refine from the bags and not a ship.
Yeah.
And I know it's been said publicly that first step was what we got with the Prospector, taking the bags on and off, functioning properly again.
Yeah.
The next step is snapping to the grid and mining and salvaging, or refining from them, or even selling from the bags. So that's what they want to do. And I thought the reason for it was this, but if you look on the outside of it, that's a cargo grid. So yeah, I don't know what's happening with this thing. And then the other thing, in case people don't know, that's the salvage panel. That's how you know it's a salvage ship. There's the same salvage panel that's in the Vulture and stuff. So yeah, you just made me think of that. Was nothing good happens unless a ship is making it. And so if we don't know, there's no hint that there's any refinery ships coming or anything like that. So I don't know. I hope maybe we get to the future where it's not just about ships, it's about base building modules. Like when that one comes in,
right.
and then they don't sell them, hopefully, and then that would be great, and we could just play the game. That would be neat. But I to go with you is I do think we'll get lower level base building, but probably at the end of the year, and with that, hopefully some crafting of FPS. I think the best thing that you brought up was that they can definitely separate crafting FPS stuff with ship stuff, and ships themselves. So I think we'll get that differentiation.
It could be that they get a new module, a new panel set up next to your freight elevators just to do basic weapons and stuff.
Yep.
And
doesn't even have to be base building. Sure.
Yeah. And they can do it inside the hangars potentially. And I mean, that's a lot of speculation there, but.
Yeah, but that's all they give us right now, right? It's January. We don't have any any shows or anything like that, and I guess that's my hope is that we get a nice sit down with somebody like Torsten and go, these are the big changes we're making in mining. This is how they're going to work. I mean, do you remember the mining episode when they were like, really shook everything up to what we have now, and it was pretty well detailed, and I'm sure we had our issues with it. I know you did. I know I did for sure. But they gave us a lot of what their intentions were, and I hope we see that this year for industrial gameplay. And I don't know. Like, is there anything new that might happen this year, industrial wise? Like, I don't think we're gonna see exploration gameplay come into any. I mean, they should markers. God, markers.
And I will say, like, it's kind of a conundrum here. I when you would ask me to join the episode, I kind of give a recap of my experience in Pyro so far, and it's that like every asteroid field is being used for missions. Yeah. Right. Bounty hunting missions. So you'll get out there and you'll start surveying, and then somebody's going to pop a bounty mission, and you've got 5 pirates that are now 15, 20 kilometers away, and a few minutes later, a player shows up, takes out his bounty, but then also sees, this group out there that's mining, right? And, it chases you away from any type of asteroid mining. There's supposed to be the Akiro cluster that's, going to be this really large, vast area, similar to the Aaron Halo, where you can go out and kind of navigate and get lost and, just not have to worry about, encountering other players. But it's not in there, right? It's not a quantum travel destination. Everything that we have for quantum travel destinations seems like it's tied to other missions that are going to generate, Pyro is supposed to be lawless and kind of unsettled, but I can't really find a place in those asteroid fields that isn't populated with something that's going to probably try and kill me.
And just populated in general, I think is totally fine, because not fine. It's the part that makes Pyro not feel like how I would have expected it to feel. It's a lot bigger of a star system, right? You feel like you could hopefully find a little pocket of time for a little bit. I don't believe that there should be any place where I personally don't like Aaron's Halo for the reason that you are alone and there is nothing there but you, and it feels like a infinite money glitch almost, right? Like if there was some sort of long distance scanning that they told us about 15 years ago and then gave up on apparently as well, is then I would be kind of okay with it. But I also think that like us, we make money so easily that we also need to, our risk does have to be things like that, but not to the extent of the way it was designed in Pyro, right? Like we're supposed to be the loot pinatas for people, but it's just where we mine is, especially like you mentioned with the asteroid belts, which I find asteroid mining to be the most sci-fi, where the space mine or the surface mining is the weirdest one, because it's like just some random rock and you're not below the surface. So now with base building it feels more realistic, but for me it's the most sci-fi, and it's the one that you don't do. We have the same problem in Stanton. They're all at like Lagrange points and stuff, right? It's like it's goofy.
Well, and I will say, like I've had to dial back a lot on my gameplay time. So, well, I might be really experienced at mining. I get like a day and a half per week where I can
Yeah.
actually get in and do a mining session. And I'm splitting it between salvage and honestly enjoying salvage more just for the immediacy
Yep.
and the simplicity. It's a lot more credits per hour, and you don't have to deal with nearly as much of the frustration. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's the if I'm in for money, it's there. If I'm in to like relax and enjoy, sometimes it's still just salvage. But I've obviously get the experience mining, try and work through. There's a couple of big like blockers for a lot of folks, but we've got some workarounds like the scanning issues we found, and the bag swaps on the prospector also being one. So.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Just to bring it back to salvage then and the misfortune, is there any way the vulture survives a prospector sized salvage ship? I love the vulture, but I think it dies for a while until they figure something else out.
I gotta say, misc ships are ugly, so I'm sticking
Fair.
with my vulture.
I love them. I think they're beautiful. I'm whole A all the way. I love that ship, and I don't when I mine I'm in a prospector, but it just comes down to 12 SC, like you could fit 39 total SCU in a vulture, right? With
Yeah,
finagling everything around. If this is anything like the capacity of a prospector, it's 32 SCU to 48 SCU just on the outside.
yeah, and
So they're going to have a buffer system.
we'll have to see what they implement as far as a buffer,
Yeah,
and if it's something that makes sense. The Drake Vulture, obviously, it's going to be like I had, I really enjoy that ship for what it is,
I love it.
but also I feel like it's best used as a group. You get a swarm of them
Mm-hmm.
with a support cargo ship nearby.
Yep, for sure, for sure. And that's what I worry is that this becomes that solo person's dream, and then it's taking you away from kind of wanting to play with other people or needing to play with other people. Like the relationship you the relationships that you make in MMOs is usually out of need, right?
Yeah,
And then you make friends with these people. It's like, man, well, I can't do this dungeon by myself. And then you go and play
right.
with other people, and then they make friends that way. That's what I loved about MMOs was like I was a 16-year-old kid by myself, had no friends, and or at least no friends that were playing the game. And then
Yeah,
I made all these friends for life and still talk to them on Discord from Ultima Online when I was a kid, you know? Like
yeah,
it's
right.
yeah. It's like one of those things that's I think Star Citizen just supports this kind of stuff. Well, maybe this we'll see what happens with this, but this kind of
Yeah.
stuff too much. You still solo moling?
On occasion,
Yeah.
right now with the wipe, everyone's interested in manning a laser that they don't have themselves. So
Yep.
usually ends up if I've got a mole out, I've got two or three folks
Hell
that
yeah.
that want to be able to help some way, but all they've got is that. Now I've got a couple of prospectors that I loan out as survey ships, but that's kind of at least the post wipe economy keeps people humble there and focuses them more on multi crew. So
For sure, for sure. All right. Well, we got a couple callers. You want to take like 5-10 minutes with them and
yeah,
then send you on the way? All right.
yeah,
Let's do it. We'll bring in this guy's a mega regular is here all the time. Every week we talk to him. It's almost every week. It's a space monkey business. So obviously
God.
keep
I'm
it to
on
mining
already.
and yeah, keep it to mining and salvage space. But what
What? No, just
you're
kidding.
known to get off
Um,
topic.
you let me get off topic, yeah? You known for that?
Uh,
No, just kidding. Um, no, just a quick note or quick question. Do you think that you need or that we need a bit more variety in the hand mining stuff? Because like three of now four minerals are a bit less. I have the feeling on maybe just add a couple of more, but with the quirk that you need like extra equipment for getting them. Let's say I'm hopeful for Bullseye, the world or the moon. What they say is very acidic, so that
yeah,
you find only hand minables there, but you need a specific suit to get there. So to introduce a little bit more depth in like later stages of hand or rock mining. I don't know how you think about that.
Oh
Yeah, I think overall the long-term plan was to go with a lot more mineral types, and that's going to include hand mining and rock mining. They have talked about there being less crossover between, because right now hand mining
No
and rock mining,
crossover.
right, right now hand mining and rock mining, those are the same three core materials. Now you've got your janelite that you can also hand mine, but
Yeah.
it doesn't come on surface. So that's kind of that fourth gemstone. But they're going to separate it. We're going to have unique hand mining materials, unique rock mining materials, and I think that
okay.
supports a long-term vision. Now, those materials I could see becoming catalyst material for other, for like refining or components for module crafting and stuff, like small precious gem type things. That I'd love to see something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it up. There was an example of it at some point during CitizenCon where we saw Hadanite being involved in the process, but it was like specifically a catalyst of sorts, is what it
Yeah.
had said. But I can't currently find the timestamp right now. But yeah, I think it's going to be more than just catalysts. Like I think if you look at contested zones, I don't know how much either of you guys have done it, but there's little salvage containers and they have wires and this little kind of screw-on thing and another tall thing, and for now they're just, you would sell them and that's it. But I could just see all these extra things being part of the crafting process, and there's no reason why we can't see. Well, I guess what I should say, I love what they did with the hand and rock mining in particular, keeping it to 3 for so long, is they easily found out that people like doing this the way that it is, as oversimplified as it is. They like the process. Now we build out on it, and I think now is when they start thinking about building out.
I think the process itself, I mean, keeping that simple is
I found it.
still valid, and I would also keep it. But like giving them an opportunity to like I said, mine a bit more, but you need to prepare for it. And maybe this is another point I have, factor in reputation, because I would like to know how Red thinks about, or what he would ideally see them doing about. Okay, now we have like a faction, or even I thought about this as well, a reputation on a specific refinery. If it's maybe run by the same faction, then reputation for the faction, and what you get when you rank up in the reputation, and what like stuff you get, what advantages you would just like play or get by the gameplay itself, or for the gameplay.
Yeah, I think having political restrictions, having environmental restrictions, those, it makes sense long term. And if it's kind of up to maybe the planetary crafting team to determine, both the biomes that these are going to appear in and whether they're going to be hazardous or not to us, and making sure there's a real sense of danger, or that political aspect, your reputation being a gate. I think long-term gameplay would it would be very interesting. So
I mean, for me, the refinery part is a bit, boring, because I mean, I mainly choose the, how is it called, Dings salvation, the process that takes very long but has the best output. And I see myself just maybe choosing one other in the list of, how many is it, 10 or so?
Yeah, it's like Farron or Dinks, and that's all you should ever use, right?
But what they've done is they put together a grid, and it's a low, medium, high for speed and low, medium, high for cost, right? And they just gave us all the options, but really, like, people are going for the high yield, high, the
high yield, low cost,
high yield, low cost, and low speed, right? And that's what we get.
Yep.
And here I thought maybe if the refinery is run by a specific faction and you need, or you get up into the reputation stuff, you unlock more specific methods that you can use for specific materials, like ore or like
I think they could flip it
crystals
on
or
its
like
head.
minerals or stuff.
Yeah, I think they could just flip it on its head and change what we have completely in regards to that if they wanted to.
And
Yeah.
kind of harkening back to some of Mike and my own aspirations, like, wouldn't you love it if there was a sodium mixology refinery method that you just fine tune, and I could have like the crimson chromalysis or something, right? Like, we should be able to go fine tune our own refinery methods.
I love
and
those
be able
names.
to do that. Yeah,
that would be the coolest way to have like Tarkov has their streamer items. Imagine if we had like 2 refinery processes named after us. That would be so cool.
That was just me spitballing. If we're actually going to start reserving names, CIG, consider that like a workshop still.
That would be fun.
No. But like being able to do that, right?
Yeah,
Defining your own method, naming it, and letting people use it with specific costs, catalysts, all that.
Yeah, for sure.
Would be cool. But like similar to the those wavelength, these attachables on the rocket itself to make the process easier. Something like this little mini game to how can I get the most out of my cargo load full of stuff I mined. Would be interesting.
Right. Yeah.
All right. That's
perfect. All right, Space. Thanks for calling in, and I appreciate it. And we
Thanks
love talking to you every week, man.
I can't believe you chewed him out for getting off topic. I felt like he was really concise with that.
No,
if he calls me out, then I am.
He stays on topic, exactly. All right, Space, we'll let you go, brother.
Right, bye.
I know. No, he was bad one day, and we've never let him die for it. So we've never let him live it down. All right, our next and final caller for the day is Samurai. And very fortunately, Samurai, you called in the exact same position as last week for what I had you, because I have like the names up here. I have 3 names that I switch through, and I fill in the names as we're talking to people, and you were right there. You were ready to go from the time that you were in yesterday or last week, so it was perfect.
Thank you. Let's hope Startup is as convenient as that, right?
Exactly. Well, we know it won't be. We know it won't be, but that's fine. What do you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about something you mentioned that I just absolutely love, Mike, which is when you mentioned, or how do you describe your solution to mining risk and how it closely emulates real life risk and mitigation and the necessity of division of labor. I really love what you mentioned. In my opinion, that's real realism and immersion.
Yeah.
Consequential actions, adaptation based on those consequences, not just, opening a drawer and all that. That's just a side note that I absolutely love. And I would love to see more in the game, like people exploring metas based on, circumstances. It's just how I see Star Citizen being, right?
It's not something I came up on my own. It's something I learned through playing Eve. That's how I found out. Like these ideas are coming from there. There's these people that run their own businesses in Eve called Buyback, and what they'll do is Eve is this ridiculous game that is definitely pay to win and all these things as well. But what can take many, many months is to create a character that has the best refinery skills. It's a game that has skills. You have to gain skills. And when I refine with no skills, I lose a lot of material when I do that. Very similar to like a crappy refining process in Star Citizen. You lose a lot of material. And in the highest level character in Eve will not lose as much. So what they'll do is that they'll buy raw material from you for 90% of its value if it was sold as refined on the market, and they'll make their even more margin than that by having better refining skills and other things, and then or they could take that and then craft with it and get even more margin from it. So that's the idea. There is I need them because I don't have the time to get the skills, and I need the money, so I go to them, right? And then everybody's happy in this situation. I go to mine, I put up my contract, boom, within a day I get my money. And that's where that idea came from, is how can I bring that to this game because it's so effective there. And that's what I've come up with so far, right? And
Exactly, but you can see that you can get it naturally. Even other things that might not be in Eve, right?
Yeah.
As long as there's smart consequences, players will enjoy very much figuring out these problems by themselves, right?
Yeah,
The game evolves with time and stuff. It's going to be beautiful.
That goes all the way back to the where we're selling and all this stuff that I mentioned in the beginning is that I feel like they're not giving the players the keys to the car yet, and just like letting us figure it out enough, and it's a bummer. It's like, oh, all right, I get my RMC and I just go here and sell it and I'm done. But yeah,
Exactly. And I think regarding as Redmond mentioned, a nice element that you can be the go-to guy for this type of commodity or refining process. I think fine-tuning refining processes is a great idea, and I think it's not hard to, let's say, implement. I don't know if you guys ever played Forza Horizon.
no,
Every car has community tuning. Like it's very complicated tuning, right, of the car. But whatever, it's just like, let's say an example of how people tune their cars and then share that tuning with other players. And I remember you can even buy it or something, or that's just the paints. But it's definitely something that can be implemented. But the caveat is, if it's too simplistic, you won't be the go-to guy, right?
yeah,
It's just gonna be something that everybody can do, like the mini game of the wave, that thing that you attach on big boulders to break them or stuff.
yeah,
I don't think that will provide that much customization or um, I don't know how to describe that individuality, I guess, right, is the word
okay,
to that process.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wanted to highlight something, and hopefully I'm not taking that much time regarding information about mining. Where to mine and stuff. Don't you guys think that information should be a serious commodity? Like, if I would go to extremes, I would say even when you buy a plot, an industrial plot, or get out that map that they showed in CitizenCon, you shouldn't know what's under the ground in terms of commodity unless, let's say, you scan the area with some complicated process, or not a complicated process, but a gameplay sort of element that's different than the usual scans, right? I think exploration will, as a gameplay, will heavily depend
of
and
course.
has a lot of synergies with mining
I'll,
and salvage.
I'll
And
just jump in
yeah,
here
what do
real
you,
quick and say and ask Red this question: is would you think on January 12th, 2025, after SitCon 2023, that would still be a conversation on this show? And after seeing them go, well, you could place markers and share them with people. Like that's
Yeah.
all you need. That's all we ever needed for that process. And
I agree.
they just never did it.
Right. And honestly, yeah, it's a core aspect of, kind of the what would really be the initial setup of exploration gameplay. And the way that I see the way they brought in crafting, right, that we, what we have right now is basically it was because people you have the buffer in the refinery ships. And it wasn't even like a big, fanfare. It was just, hey, like we figured out how to take your buffer and use that material. And so like crafting version 0.
Yep.
Some of these features get brought in because there's a gameplay need, and I feel like that is still very much a gameplay need. They see people out there doing that, trying to put markers. You can set up a beacon, but it's like shared publicly. Everybody can get that. You can't. I think maybe the struggle is how to share that location, but I would have really hoped it was in game by now. But
Yeah.
it's got to be a priority for them.
And it feels like it's not anymore. Like we got our star map and then I don't know what's going on. And the problem is it's a UI thing, and UI people there are just, they got them doing a million things. So when are they ever going to get back to it is frustrating. So I don't see a world where we go to this base building scenario where that can't, like, it has to be online. Like if you're looking for undersurface, like I have to be able to share those locations. I have to be able to share
Well, and
a location
you're
that
gonna have
there isn't a quantum travel marker to, right?
you're not only that, you're gonna have to share the location where you put your base down
That's what I mean. Yeah.
in a private area, right? Because like it can't be something public. You know, I could foresee just getting trolled incessantly if every time somebody built a base, it became a public travel marker
Yeah.
that anybody could go to. That's I really hope they don't do that. In order to support that, you need to have private location markers that can be shared. But yeah, the way that CIG has to approach this really needs to be measured against the amount of malfeasance, player behavior, to the detriment of the people that are out there, constructing. And not saying that it needs to be immune, but at the same time, if I'm going to invest time and resources into building a base, you're damn sure I want to make sure that's at least somewhat protected so that I can enjoy it for a while.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess in Stanton, you're safe, so it doesn't even matter. But in
Yeah.
Pyro, you're probably going to want to do your refining in Pyro, get it out. Like, as long as the refinery processes are what we think they'll be, which is much shorter, you're probably going to want to get them refined and then get out. But I won't personally.
Would you prefer to do refining in Pyro and then bring the higher value materials back through, or
No.
Do you think
depends.
you take the risk with the raw stuff?
It all depends. Depends on, like you said, if they bring in a ship or not. So you could be refining as you're jumping through the jump point, right? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
But then the other part of it is the time. Like, the only issue that we have right now with time is Quantanium. So the only one that if you find Quantanium in Pyro, you're going to have to refine it in Pyro. But the other aspects are, I can just bring the raw ore through. So we really need to see what are they going to do for taxes and things like that for using these things. And then you would assume more expensive in Stanton, no tax maybe in Pyro. And
how secure is your refinery going to be in Pyro, right? And if you're going to have to invest time and effort and have catalysts on site and secure that refinery through the entire refinement process, right?
It won't be.
Can people go and interrupt it, right? There's a lot of aspects that play into that, and industrial players, you're gonna become pretty easy targets if things aren't balanced properly.
So. Yeah, it just comes down to how. I think it's fine for your base to be vulnerable, extremely vulnerable in Pyro, if found. And it just comes down to the balance comes, at least in my opinion, comes down to the ability to easily find a base, right? Like right now, ships are pretty easy to find. Like what's radar and what's scanning and what's signature radius and all this stuff for these things going to end up being. We'll see. I'm curious on how they'll go about it. I still think that we, unfortunately, are probably, unfortunately for us, but good for other people, will be the targets. And
it'll be the loot pinatas.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I keep calling them, me. But like a loot pinata or the easy targets, and the idea there is to not be found. And that's what I don't like about industrial components. We're easily found. Yeah. So we'll have to see. But all right, Samurai, is there anything else real quick before we let you go?
Just one last bit.
Sure.
I think I felt from you, Mike, and Redmond, that you guys think that rock mining could benefit a lot from additional spice, let's say. Maybe it's too simplistic. I love how it is right now, but I would love to, hear your guys' ideas about how it can be even more fun, in ways that I've never thought about.
Go for it, Red.
Yeah. I think if they got rid of the rock and made us all use the rock DS, that would definitely make rock mining spicy. But no, I am curious to see what materials they're going to bring into the game and how that's going to change rock mining, because I do think it has a bit of a lack of variety.
Radioactivity.
Bring in some radioactivity, bring in some volatile materials, go for that.
There you go. It's as easy as that, right? You can name whatever material, whatever you want, but just give it a little variety, and then I think people would be very happy.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
Samurai.
Thank you, Samurai. Be good, man.
Thank you, bye.
All right. Yeah, so that was our callers for the day, and I think it's probably a good place to stop. But is there anything that, if we didn't get to it, or anything you would like to last things that you would want to say or anything like that?
I really want to just plug again. One of the greatest tools that I've seen out there is the Relith.rocks. Ray Chaser has done a fantastic job. He and I are actually working on putting together some concepts for survey forms. So going out and actually collecting data based on location to feed into some reporting. So yeah, a fantastic tool. Ray Chaser's been doing an awesome job there. So
yeah,
my previous, I was doing this all in like a Google Docs sheet, and it was good. It was some maintenance on my end, and I actually I discovered other content creators, adopting or bastardizing the form for their own, and it was interesting. What Ray Chaser's got here has been really awesome. A lot of cool integration. So
I didn't know that.
it was limited, but
still being done. That sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, this tool is incredible if you like mining or you like doing group things and sharing the payouts. Like I've used it for the weirdest stuff to like buying guns and selling them to each other, like all that and sharing the payouts that way, and we have like recording all that way. It's just been fantastic.
We've done it for Jumptown payouts. We do it for Salvage. We do it for mining. So
yeah, it's awesome. But so if you guys haven't checked it out yet, I put the link in Twitch chat. I'm about to put it in YouTube. But it's incredible. It's I have so many ideas too that I'm afraid to share with him because he's got enough on his plate. But yeah, it's just super, super useful and a really great tool. And man, we need more community tools from community members because
I gotta say
awesome.
The tutorial video on Regolith, it's really well done. Not a self plug at all.
Yeah, but, it's how I figured out how to use it.
Yeah. So if you're doing mining, salvage, or just want to do group stuff like like Jumptown, figure out who gets paid. Those are awesome. So
let me just put in that link there. Perfect. And yeah, I guess that's where we'll leave it. So I'm gonna put a little shout out in chat for you. Are you gonna go live like right now? Because I would love to rage you, but are you gonna take a little break before you get going?
Yeah, I'm gonna go live. I'll have a quick monologue and maybe a brief bio break. But then we'll be into pyro mining. So
perfect. So everybody who's watching on YouTube, Red's links are in the description, and everybody who's watching on Twitch, I just put the shout out there. So make sure you hit the little heart on top so you are following him. And I guess that's where we'll leave it. So Red, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate it, especially on super short notice. I heard you're doing the rounds. You're on Astro Show last night, and it's about that time. And I hope we have our trio back together very soon to talk about like 4.1 mining and salvage updates or something, and we start getting them more consistently. But it seems like our boy Torsten's a little too busy with engineering, which I know,
man.
Yeah.
Well, it's always a pleasure to come on. I appreciate the conversations. It's really I hate sharing the stage with Croncy.
I know.
The guy just talks too much.
He's the worst.
But no, we miss you, Croncy.
Get well.
Get well, and again, I appreciate it very much.
Yes, well, the show got much more handsome without Croncy here. We'll just say that. But Croncy's gonna be mad at me. I don't have my phone, so we can't do the cringe outro without him. Do you have yours?
Oh, no. What do I need to do there?
You have to put. I'll say, all right, guys, we'll catch you later, and don't forget. And you put your phone up to your ear and say, "Answer the call." You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, guys. So hit the like button and all that stuff. Follow our streams, and don't forget
to answer the call.
We still did it without him.